You can find the video version of this episode at mountaintoppodcast.com/YouTube.
Live from the mist-enshrouded mountaintop fortress that is X and Y Communications headquarters, you're listening to the world-famous Mountaintop Podcast. And now, here's your host, Scot McKay.
Greetings, gentlemen. How's it going? My name is Scot McKay, and you're tuned in to yet another Mountaintop Podcast from X and Y Communications. You can find me all over social media on TikTok, on X, on YouTube, and now on Substack at Scot McKay. And you can also find me at Real Scot McKay on Instagram. Gentlemen, if you're not a part of the Mountaintop Summit on Facebook, sure hope you'll join us. It's a thriving group of men who want to get better with women. Guys, probably a lot like you. So come join us, have a good old time. And as always, the website, of course, is mountaintoppodcast.com. My guest today is a new friend of mine. He's very smart. He's very accomplished. He's good at what he does. He's got a new Netflix special coming up and a couple of new books. So he's getting around and making a name for himself. And more importantly, helping men just like you live better lives. His name is Dr. D. Yvonne Young. He is the reality check doctor. How about that? Try that on for size. He more formally is a behavioral neuroscientist out of Houston, Texas, just down I-10 from here in San Antonio. And today we're going to talk about self-aware masculinity. Everybody just calls him Doc. Doc, how's it going, man?
It's going well. I'm looking forward to having this conversation.
Yeah, me too. Self-awareness seems to me to be something that kind of fell off a cliff during COVID. Everybody was kind of sequestered on their own without any need to really, be aware at all of anything, let alone other people around them. And it's kind of like we lost all our skills and forgot about them once we became social again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that is critical, what men think is masculinity typically has not been shaped by anything masculine. It's been shaped by culture. It's been shaped by us being raised by men that were emotionally stoic or unavailable. However, we have to understand that everything evolves. Many of us, if you're a baby boomer, Gen X, Gen Z, you probably had a dad that lacked being hugged. They were either over-validated in an inappropriate way or not validated at all. So we have to figure this out now. Fortunately, we live in a season where information is readily available. The downside of that is a lot of crap that's readily available too. So today, what I'm hoping that we can accomplish, and me having the real blessing of being on the Mountaintop Podcast, is that I think clarity provides a path forward. When we take that path, now we can stop playing and pretending to be macho and to meet some stereotype, but to become authentic in masculinity and what being a man really looks like.
I love it, man. I'm all here for it. We talk a lot around here, Doc. You'd have no way of knowing this. I don't expect you to be a consumer of massive numbers of episodes since we just met. But there's a big difference between being macho and being masculine. Unfortunately, in this society, much to the chagrin of us all, there really isn't a female equivalent to macho, is there? Mm-hmm. Women will watch the Hallmark Channel at Christmas time, go get their nails done, go to spa days, giggle till they snort with all their, BFFs on Friday night drinking chocolate martinis, go to the mall, and we don't want anything to do with any of that. Because to us, that's kind of just the slag that comes with them being women. It's not what attracts us to women. It's what they do that we kind of just don't want to be a part of. Yeah. Meanwhile, over here on the men's side, we drink each other under the table, go play golf, drive big four-wheel drive trucks, tinker with our Harleys and our mountain bikes in the garage, talk big game, bust on each other. That's all macho stuff that women are like, well, I guess the guys are just going to do that, but I'm not interested. Meanwhile, that kernel of sexual energy, the masculine and the feminine, igniting each other sexually, to bring about really uh, the psychosocial part of sexuality
Mhm.
is what that masculinity and femininity does. So we as men are going to have to carry ourselves, conduct ourselves in a way that really should be primally ingrained within us. But it seems
Mhm.
like you just so eloquently started to get at there, Doc. It just seems like society is trying to shift us away from what masculinity really means, and either trying to have us reimagine masculinity as whatever we want, or try
Mhm.
to really turn us more into women. Meanwhile, women um, who are angry at men for what men have done to them, sometimes rightly so, want to pronounce all masculinity as toxic. And,
Mhm.
you guys are going to have to do better, whatever that means, but we haven't been told what that means. So the idea of all masculinity being toxic and you should just
Mhm.
stuff it down and stop it. Meanwhile, that's there, but meanwhile, women, in many ways, are taking the positive masculinity and co-opting it for themselves in the workplace. And to me, what that does is it cheapens femininity, because in my mind, Doc, femininity is what we're all here for. It's everything we live for on weekends. It's everything that the beauty and the joy and the fun and the play and the hospitality and the comfort that
Mhm.
women bring to the world. And we as men, making women feel safe and secure and
Mhm.
protected to bring that femininity out into the world. It just seems like a real shame to me that all of that has gotten diluted at best and ignored or even redirected at worst towards this this really, yes, it's a dilution of society where masculinity and femininity don't matter anymore. And as you know, once a word can mean anything, it
Mhm.
means nothing.
Yeah.
Just like if God can be whoever you want God to be, then there is no definition of God. And if masculinity and femininity could be whatever you dream it to be, then there is no definition of masculinity and femininity anymore. I don't know if any or all of that tracks with what you're getting at, but I'd love to hear your version. Go for it.
Well, you covered a lot of things. So
Indeed.
there, there's a way to deconstruct this. The first thing is you use this word primal earlier. And
Mhm.
primal, by definition, is operating from the part of the brain that, the deeper structures, the amygdala and the thalamus and the red nuclei and all that stuff. But bottom line is our visceral reactions are predicated on fight or flight, freeze, procreate, survive, pleasure, pain type signaling. And what we're reacting to is cues in the environment. Well, primal man had to do one thing: survive. And when you're in survival mode, you're not having higher functions. A good example, you look at a guy digging out in the trash. Well, he is in survival mode. He's not thinking about germs. He's not thinking about calories. He just wants to eat. And to meet that need, he will see, can I consume this? Does it smell? Is it sour? I'm going to eat it because I will no longer be hungry. Well, fortunately, many of us are not in survival mode anymore, but there's some of us that are and don't even know it.
Mm.
When that happens, we look at women and we look at masculinity as part of an ecosystem on one level, like I need someone to take care of me. That's when you see a lesser evolved man or a man that's not economically stable, he will look to a woman as a resource. Like, you know what, baby, can I have $20? Or as validation. Man, this chick is so hot, nudging his friends. Hey, look at that. And he's looking at her butt and her boobs or whatever. So now he's using this woman as a source of validation rather than as someone to engage in a meaningful dialogue or play a meaningful role. So what's happening with us is we've got this intersection where you have men that are self-actualized and self-sufficient. You have men over here that are broken. They are victims of their environment. You've got a section over here that culturally and socially, they're in a diminished state either because they don't have the right melanin content in their skin or the right hair texture, or they're the minority group and whatever that is, that dynamic is. And then you got guys over here that simply, they just don't care. They're checked out, and they're checked out because they feel like, well, who cares about me? So why should I care about you? What we have to do is show ourselves a little compassion, show ourselves a little empathy, and accept not just, who we are, but let's kind of take a look at who we're not. And when we can look at ourselves and say, I don't have that big house, or I don't have that, that big $150 truck. Matter of fact, I'm on the
I have the
bus.
$150 truck. That's me.
Yeah. You know what I mean? We're on the bus. Well, I should have added the other zeros, but the $150,000 truck. But
I'm just teasing you.
when you're
Not too
a
far
guy,
off, though. Yeah, but go ahead.
yeah, when you're a guy and you're really trying to make sense of life, that can't happen till you make sense of yourself.
I agree. I
And
think that's
as we
brilliant.
learn to make sense of ourselves, which is probably a good idea, now we're positioning ourselves to not only see ourselves the way that others may see us, but we at that point, by intention, can shape how we want ourselves to be seen by others.
Let me go ahead and jump in here because
ahead.
you're touching on wonderful things, and there's so many great things to cover. You would have no way of knowing this, but a lot of what you're talking about, we've covered on this show before. But you said a couple things that are so brilliantly different that I want to make sure they don't just wash under the bridge. Clearly, you're talking about the Maslowian hierarchy.
Mhm.
If I haven't eaten for a couple days, it may feel like, yeah, I'm really hungry, but, put concrete shoes on me and throw me at the bottom of a lake, and all I can think about is oxygen.
Mhm.
Oxygen, just like right now. Too many words in one sentence. But, the guys who are there self-actualizing, which, of course, is a very Maslowian term,
Mhm.
they don't have to think about where their next meal is coming from, et cetera, et cetera. But not all of us as men are to that point logistically in our lives yet. So I think that really does affect where we're going to be coming from. And you could call it primal, archetypal, whatever that deep-seated history is within us from olden days. We are going to be in fight or flight mode, either in ways we recognize,
Mhm.
or if we're further up that Maslowian pyramid,
Mhm.
it's going to sneak up on us. Just like you're saying, we're still going to be looking for reasons to fight and flight. And, not to open up a can of worms, but I would think that absolutely succinctly nails why people get on social media and complain about and bitch about and fly the flag for and die on the hill of things that don't even affect their life.
Yeah.
Politically, whatever, because it's a mess and people don't have anything better to do.
Mhm.
The other thing that is even arguably more important that you just talked about is you were talking about men growing up expecting women to still take care of them.
Mhm.
I believe for a lot of guys, there's no rite of passage where they even sometimes literally move out from under their mommy's roof. There's guys still living at home with their mommy and daddy at age 30, wondering why women aren't attracted. And it's because there's been no rite of passage where that handoff is made from where a man sees women as someone providing for them to where they're going to be the man of the house. And now they're going to be the provider and protector, which is inherently attractive to women as masculinity. So when there is a total blind spot there, that's even necessary. It allows men to remain in their comfort familiarity zone where, it seems like, hey, this is the easy button. I just hit that and my bed's made and my meals are paid for. I don't even have to go get a job. I don't have to have any stress. But they're also not self-actualizing because they're still stuck being boys instead of men. So the twist that you put on that is a man also coming from the same place if and when he says, look, she's a fine piece of ass. Look, gentlemen, look at my trophy.
Mhm.
Because then that's a woman, wait for it, still providing him.
Mhm.
His ego, his sense of validation is, I have a hot chick. And yet, my thought process, and I think that, again, you've brought up something fantastic here. This is going to be life-changing for a lot of guys. This has never been talked about on this show, which I'm always looking for, new topics like that, is you have a situation where basically he might as well be at home on his mommy's couch, not adulting, because the woman is going to be equally unimpressed that she's being used for his validation. She needs him to man up. And, another thing you alluded to, know who the hell he is. That's called having character.
Mhm.
Knowing what his belief system is, who he is, what he's good at, what he's not good at, doing the right thing as he interprets it, um, even when nobody is looking, or based on his God, based on his religious beliefs, whatever that core belief system is that's underpinning his character, he sticks to it. Without that, whether you're simply trying to call your next girlfriend mommy or you're trying to get her to validate you because she's your trophy girlfriend, the end result in that woman's mind, in her psyche, is her femininity just doesn't want any.
Well, there are a couple of things that go with what you said. So, going back to you use this word archetype,
Mhm.
and that for people that don't know what that is, that's this persona that embodies an aspect of function, belief, status, or what have you. So many of us are living in an archetype, excuse me, that is been our protector, or it's been our source of self worth or validation. Here's a good example of this. I have a whole lot of high net worth public figure type clients that come to my practice to see me. Some of these guys, they could write a check and the bank will bounce. Now, what's happened is they either had an athletic prowess, they were born with the right last name, and they realize that, you know what, because I do this, I am esteemed and I'm honored. So you should acquiesce to me. And they look at that from friends to women. What we don't look at is, okay, what ecosystem is feeding that? And a lot of your frenemies you're picking up the tab, you're buying the beers, you're buying around, you had a damn suite at the stadium.
Mhm.
Those guys aren't expecting anything more from you than what their selfish association with you brings and provides for them. I call it this wingman effect where, the guy makes a good wingman. Well, of course, because he doesn't have his own damn plane, number one. Number two, what you attract when you have him on board and co-piloting with you raises his value. Well, this a good way to think about this is if you're the smartest guy on your team, you need a new team, right? You get
Norman
in a relate,
Schwarzkopf. If
huh?
you're Norman Schwarzkopf also said something similar.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're the smartest guy in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
So what happens with us is that we should question ourselves and question, all right, here's where I am. If you're going to become, I'll use the phrase self actualize because I don't think we ever really reach that, but I think as we strive for it, then we have to ask ourselves, okay, here's what I'm doing right, which is going to help you with resilience and self efficacy. But autonomy is what am I capable of doing now? Now that I've done this, what am I capable of? And see what happens with us when we deal with women, we have relationships. We find ourselves challenged when this woman is unattainable. So we'll pursue, we will engage, we'll have meaningful, substantive interactions with this woman. Now, when we conquer, meaning you've slept with her 5 times, so it's not new anymore. Or when you don't have to worry about her being somewhere because she's got 2 of your kids and,
Right.
she's playing her role. Well, the next stage in your life is what now? And what we have to ask ourselves, without the woman being the catalyst, without a lack of resources being the catalyst, is what now? What am I doing with myself and my life right now that is going to move me toward being the man that I have a vision for being? Now, the problem with that is this. Some of us have never seen a man that is quote unquote
Right.
at that level of function.
Right.
We had a dad that he's a man because he built $1 million company, or he's a man because he whooped somebody's ass, or he's a man because he's 6'3", 280 pounds. Well, the truth is, those are attributes. Those are not the constituents of what makes you a man. And what I think what a lot of us are doing is we're looking for an external solution for an internal problem in order to move past mediocrity and to move away from having transactional relationships with everybody and to move into a transformational space, we have to have the courage to take the road least traveled. And that road is working on yourself, identifying these places in you. And I'm not talking about the psychological stuff. I mean, just really going deep and thinking about, here's where I am. You look around yourself and see who's in your company. You look around yourself and you see, what is this environment taking from me and what am I giving it? And when you can examine these deeper structures of your being, now we start talking about a new definition for masculinity. I believe that the epitome of coming into what I would call the animus season of your life, where you are really the embodiment of masculinity, is when you can admit the things that still hurt you, when you can deal with the wounds, you can look at your aspirations and say, I did achieve that, but what was the point? What kind of legacy did this achievement I just have bring not only into my life, but to these offspring that I've produced? In other words, you built $1 million company. Your son is an asshole and you are too. Or you are really a nice guy and you look out for everybody, but you do it at your expense. And you're looking at these situations where you now have this passive aggressive behavior with people that actually care about you, but you want the attention from people who don't give a damn, that are just using you for whatever function you provide. See, this level of clarity will only come to you through introspection and self-awareness.
Let me jump in here for a second, because once again, you're touching upon something that hasn't been talked about on this show. I think we as men realize that providing and protecting, making those we love safe, acting in the best interest of those we love, is what masculinity is all about. We've talked about that a lot around here. Mm-hmm. But what you're bringing is a meta level of maturity to that conversation, in my opinion.
Perfectly said.
Because what goes on, you're not just a man. You're not a boy anymore. Now you're not just a man. Now you're a grown-ass man.
Yeah.
Now you're in a position to be a mentor for others. Now you're in a position to make the next generation great. And what that means is, yes, you've accomplished some things. You've done some things, but instead of being an egotistical douchebag about it, for example, you relax into that and realize it's time to give even that away to the next generation. Because, hey, the people around us, when we're at that meta level stage you're talking about, they've been feeling safe and comfortable. We've been the patriarch in a good way of this family for ages. The kind of man you're talking about will be the guy the entire extended family goes to when the chips are down. When there's a crisis in the family, it'll be like, Uncle Dude, what are we doing? Mm-hmm. Because he is that meta level of safety and security. He's the guy who, when he shows up, everything's going to be all right. Yeah. We know guys like that. I have had guys I coach who've been high-level military officers and heads of companies and been put in positions of just extreme stress, and their ability to rise above that stress, count upon their character, expect it to work like it always has, and if it hasn't, well, we'll make adjustments, and to kind of shrug off the things beyond our control and stick to what we can control. Is it what separates the men from the boys? It's what separates the mentors from the men. And I love what you're talking about, because this is the kind of meat and potatoes these guys dig into. Doc, what would you tell guys who want to kind of transcend simply having grown up and be this guy? What are the steps? Where does our mindset need to be, and where do we need to start modifying our practices in the real world?
Well, that's a great question. You use this phrase meta and metacognition more specifically. There is a psychological treatment protocol called the interfamily systems model, right? If you see that movie Inside Out 2, which I would suggest, I know it doesn't sound like, why in the hell would you tell a bunch of men, go watch a damn cartoon?
Oh,
Well, being honest,
it's great. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah.
yeah, that cartoon will allow you to realize that in your brain, there are some different states that we tend to overutilize and others we underutilize. Well, in the interfamily systems model, they put some archetypical references in there to say, okay, one of them is an executive manager, the other one is relational, the other one's a curious explorer, the other one's a standard setter, just, name a few. Well, when we start thinking about how am I showing up? And the hell with other people, how are you showing up for you? Now we can start talking, and I'm going to introduce just a little bit of neuroscience to this. Then, if that at that point, now we ask, okay, well, what and who is driving the bus? This part of your brain is the prefrontal cortex. That's the place where you are mindfully present. But these deeper structures, going back to where you said primal, well, another, you could look this up if you get the time. Default mode network. That default mode processing is what you revert back to when stuff happens. What is going on is that you recognize something in your environment, you connect that to an outcome in your past. So let's say, God forbid, you're a guy, you were molested by some pervert, your uncle or coach or whatever. And that uncle always had on a blue uniform, a police officer's uniform or whatever. Well, now when you get around somebody that's an authority figure, especially even if they have on a blue shirt, blue uniform, there's a part of you kind of mounts up and you're either ready to fight or flee. That comes across in your conversation. Well, what's driving the bus at that point is this part of you that wants to protect you. And sometimes when we allow that part of us to come forward, what we're shutting down is the part of us that should be more objective. In other words, we're looking at situations subjectively. And because we're doing that, we are automatically self-sabotaging what may have been something that was meant to come out in our own good. So if we take the time and think about, what part of me makes the dominant decisions in my life? Now, here's a book I want you guys to write down. It's called Organize Your Emotions, Optimize Your Life. I'm going to repeat it again. Organize Your Emotions, Optimize Your Life. It's by one of my colleagues at Harvard, Margaret Moore. And I want you to watch that movie Inside Out 2 because it will set you up to better understand the damn book. But it's about this interfamily systems model. So what I'm saying is that uncle that you're looking at, or that dad or that cousin that people say, you know what, shit hit the fan, John, what should we do? That guy, he has learned to regulate that interfamily system in his brain where he can make a conscious shift from being in default mode and always hyper vigilant. The guy, man, I don't take no shit. That guy. Well, that's an aspect of a persona in your brain. It's the hyper vigilant, right? Well, what if you actually could be mindfully present enough to slow what's happening before you down and to actually think, okay, I've got some choices in how I'm going to handle this. Well, see, now when you put that thought process present, you're no longer allowing the default mode network to auto run everything. You are doing something that you hear this term, you're mindfully present. So now in your mindful presence, you stop and think, I smell a rat, I smell bullshit, but let me chill. What would the sage part of me, meaning the wise part of me, what would be my wise advisor's guidance right now? And see, as we learn to stop being who we've been and to operate in who we're capable of being, now all of a sudden we can go from having many happenstance and default outcomes to creating intentional outcomes. And that happens simply by you being aware. Again, going back to what we said earlier, who you are and who you're not. And when the familiar happens, leaning into what you haven't done versus what you would normally do. And that is going to expand the term for this is neuroplasticity. That is going to expand the glia in your brain and cause you to be more aware, more competent, and for you to be viewed like that uncle, cousin, grandfather figure who, when the shit hits the fan, everybody looks at them and says, what do we do? That guy can become you when you become intentional about how you want to show up, which means that you can language to yourself, you know what, let me stop doing what I've always done. Because if you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to keep getting what you've always got. But the minute that you can dial that back and allow yourself to tap into the deeper, more self-actualized, the wiser part of yourself, now you can start creating intentional outcomes, even in unintended circumstances.
Yeah, well, what you're talking about here is, again, meta level. Instead of just mere self-awareness, which these guys were expecting to hear about today, you've elevated this to mindfulness, which is where you would become the mentor to the younger generation. A couple things I noticed about what you were talking about. This idea of kind of having field sense, because you've slowed down, you've relaxed, you're not so inside your head, you're not in a fear-based mentality anymore. So you're not worried about your own self-preservation. You kind of are not fearless, but facing it with courage. You're being courageous enough that you can start assisting other people. You put your mask on first before you put the mask on someone else. That is something that all the little boys and the young men amongst us are missing out on. You know, when you can make yourself feel safe, when you feel grounded, then and only then can you have the wherewithal and, dare I say, the maturity and the masculinity at this elevated level of mindfulness to help other people. The other thing I noticed is, of course, we're talking about, not only our relationships with our peers professionally, but of course, our relationships with men and women. We've established that this makes women hot for us. And, this is, again, gentlemen, another reason why older guys get younger women. If you're a guy out there and you're 30 years old and you've gotten to this meta level of mindfulness, you're going to get all the women. Guys, if you're 22 and can get it, you will get all the women your own age, because they don't want an older guy because he's old. They want the older guy because of this exact thing. In sports, you see it. Why does a young NBA team need to bring someone in for veteran leadership, even if they're going to be first off the bench, sixth man, seventh man? Because of this. A lot of times when people are drafted into the NFL, especially quarterbacks, they can be great in college, but their first year, they kind of crap the bed a little bit. Why? Well, what is often said about those guys when they start coming into their own in the NFL, and indeed maybe a point guard in the NBA, right? A pitcher in Major League, is the game slowed down for them, is what you hear them say. That's this. In other words, they stop being horrified with a ball in their hand that, I'm not dealing with, a couple guys from Marshall, right, or Weber State anymore trying to get around my offensive line. I got freaking Roquan Smith coming at me now. So that impulse to just shriek like a little girl and run away, it's going to take some time to tamp down. But once the game slows down for you and you realize, I'm freaking Lamar Jackson, I'm freaking Mahomes, I can do this, right? Then the game slows down for you. And Lamar is a great example, by the way, of a guy who the game slowed down for. And then you start realizing I'm just as talented as these muffos and I can do it. And then next thing you know, you're headed towards the Hall of Fame and all the young guys coming up, they're wanting a chance to play with you. You saw it in the Spurs last year with Chris Paul coming in to play with Victor Wembanyama. That's because Victor Wembanyama is a great talent, but he's not this guy yet. I love it. I think this has been a fantastic conversation and a necessary one. And you're so smart and you know your stuff so much and you're challenging me, which I always relish when guys like you come on this show and do that. What would you tell these guys who kind of feel like they're Malcolm in the middle right now, Doc? They're not a little boy. I mean, I don't live at home with my mommy. I don't run away as soon as something troublesome comes along, I can face a challenge. At least I think I can. But man, I'm not this meta level godfather of my family just yet. Hopefully, without the organized crime, right? What are the mindsets, or maybe a couple practical ways you could get guys off a top 10 center here and get them moving towards that self actualization process?
Well, the first thing is stop looking at what somebody else is doing, what they didn't do or did do. If somebody's, two steps behind you, stop looking down on them and stop looking up to the guy that's two steps ahead. The truth is, you're right where you need to be right now. Whatever you've lost, whatever you've acquired, make meaning of that. And what I mean by that is there are times when you are just an effective witness, where you are meant to shut up, observe, and learn some stuff. There's a time when you're meant to be an encourager and to be the voice in the room that everybody else wants to say something, but they don't because they figure it'll cost them something. It'll cost them that relationship with the guy that gives you the extra $100 or whatever the hell.
Well, it's
You
the
know?
little boy who thinks he needs to be alpha all the time.
Yeah, that's it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, man, do something damn about it, right? And if you say, man, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a surgeon, and you got a GED. Well, don't go be stupid enough and try to apply to Harvard or to Duke, because you're not going to get in. But be humble enough to say, you know what, I got a GED. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to this community college in San Antonio, New York, LA, wherever the hell you are. And I'm going to go there and I'm going to take some basic classes just so I can communicate properly, because I can't really write well. I don't even read well. And see, by you just being accepting of who you're not, and I'll use a quote for you. Marilyn Monroe, she was as dingy as hell, but one thing she said was, if you can't accept me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. You need to tell yourself that, you know what, I'm not at my best right now, so I'm going to accept me for where I am, but I'm not going to stay here. And whatever your next level up, you went and built this mega plumbing company, or you got this auto shop and you're making money. Okay, that's one aspect of who you are. Now work on the shit you haven't developed. Have the courage to realize that, you know what, I've been providing for my family, but I haven't been engaging with my family. Look at how you are showing up, not just for other people, but for yourself. And the stuff that you want to run from, like, I work out 5 days a week. I'm 64. I've had cancer, but I can pick up 110-pound dumbbells and do 4 sets with them, 10 reps a set. Well, somebody would look at that and they'd be like, well, one, why in the hell are you doing that? And two, damn, how old are you? Well, here's the truth. That shit has nothing to do with why I'm lifting those weights. I'm lifting those weights because I want to wipe my own ass. I want to live another 30 years. In other words, I've come in contact and relationship with the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing and where it fits in my life. So where I'm going with this, fellas, is this. Don't look at what you've done. Don't look at what you haven't done. Pay attention to, okay, here's where I am right now. What do I need to do? Accept it. After I had my cancer thing, it went to stage 4. All this stuff is a bone from my leg. This inside of this is some tissue from my damn leg. Well, when I came back, I went back in the gym and I picked up some 40-pound damn dumbbells and had to strain. I literally, no shit, had to strain to just push them up. But I knew right then and there, I said, you know what? Not only am I going to get back where I was, I'm going to get back there better, because what God has given me, He let me live. My friend Robert Reed, who played for the Rockets, Robert and I worked out every day. Robert's dead. Robert got cancer after me. I remember him saying, I'll pray for you. And I remember me telling him, bro, go to MD Anderson. Oh, he let his ego choose his medical care. That's why my dear friend is dead. A guy that was like my younger brother, same thing, dead. When you get your wake-up call, whatever it is, mine was cancer. Another one was, okay, all of a sudden I'm not making what I was making. What the hell? Why'd my money just drop? Whatever your wake up call is, accept that. And if you're not spiritual and you're agnostic, ask the question, what is this season in my life teaching me? And you'll get an answer. If you just be quiet and still long enough, you'll get an answer. And then realize, okay, what's my one step I can take to move from where I am to where I'm supposed to be? Take that step, take it for the right damn reasons, and the rest will work itself out.
Well, Doc, if you think about it, that's all you can do.
Yeah.
Everything else would be an excuse. If you're living in the past, there's no action there because it's in the past. There's no proaction.
Yeah.
If it's something so lofty, you're never even going to get to step one with it, it's an excuse.
Yeah.
But what you have right now, your next step in front of you, you have no excuse to take it.
There you go.
Which is why I love what you said. His name is Dr. D. Ivan Young. You can call him Doc, and his new book is actually a massive update of his first book. And by popular demand, it's coming back out again right about the time that this show's going to drop. It's called Break Up, Don't Break Down. And assuming you're talking about breaking yourself for the
getting
better.
out of toxic relationships and
so actual literal breakups. Okay.
But understanding that, a relationship complements your life. It doesn't complete your life. So now that you're in this season where you're going through a divorce, God forbid, somebody you love, your old lady, your wife died, or where you just realize, you know what, I can't do this shit anymore. That book is a roadmap to understand how to deal with that, how to make sense of it, how to evolve from it, and then how to create an intentional outcome for the next season in your life, be it alone or with somebody else.
Beautiful. And also, you have a Netflix special coming up. That's under wraps.
I'll just say it like this. I can't tell you guys what it is, but just remember Dr. D. Ivan Young, and you'll know a lot more about that soon as Netflix decides to share with the world what they're up to.
I can't wait to watch it myself. I know it's going to be life-changing.
Yeah, it's going to be a big deal.
The Reality Check Doctor.
Yes,
love
sir.
it. I love it. And when you go to mountaintoppodcast.com/Ivan, IVAN, you're going to be magically teleported to drdivanyung.com. What are they going to find there, Doc?
Resources to help you live a profoundly extraordinary life. My practice, I don't take everybody, but if you and I match and we're here to hear, you'd probably be a good fit for my practice. I always tell people the truth can withstand inquiry. Just Google me, put my name in AI, and it'll tell you if you're a good fit for me and not in vice versa.
If anything, I'd much rather work with the guys who love women, want to do better, are going to pick themselves up by the bootstraps and really want to dig into those things ChatGPT can't possibly know about them.
Yeah.
So I love it. What a great conversation. I immediately sense here that you have a lot to share that we haven't even touched the surface yet. So I'm sure hoping that you'll come back and visit us. Will you do that?
Of course, Scott. Thank you for having me on the Mountaintop Podcast. And Scott, you're a hell of a cool guy, man. It's wonderful.
Thanks, man. Back at you, man. I hope we can collaborate on some things.
Definitely.
It'd be great. Yeah. Gentlemen, check out Jocko Willink's company, Origin in Maine, The Keyport, and Hero Soap, all of our three longtime illustrious sponsors at themountaintoppodcast.com. When you get anything from our sponsors, please use the coupon code MOUNTAIN10 to get an extra 10% off. Also, guys, check me out on Substack. It's at Scott McKay on Substack. I am telling you that if you can handle the truth, just like there at the banner at the top of this video version of this podcast, if you're watching instead of listening, which I hope you are, you're going to see me write about things that you don't hear or see me talk about much. That's where I'm putting all the stuff that I wouldn't tell the masses in the newsletter or possibly even in this podcast. Nothing bad, just kind of off the cuff stuff and digging a little deeper. Go check that out at mountaintoppodcast.com/Substack. Also, gentlemen, I'm always here for you. I want to challenge each and every one of you guys. If you haven't gotten on my phone or my Zoom yet and talked to me for free for 25 minutes, that we do that. I want to know what you think of this show. I want to know what you think of the video format, what you think of the guests, the topics you have, and if it makes sense to put a coaching program together. we will do that for you. All you really need, my requirements are you be of sound mind and that you actually like women and that you're trying to succeed, not fail. Those are the 3 legs of the stool. You can check those off. We're going to work out fine. All of that and more is there for you at mountaintoppodcast.com. And until I talk to you again real soon, this is Scott McKay from X&Y Communications in San Antonio, Texas. Be good out there.
The Mountaintop Podcast is produced by X&Y Communications. All rights reserved worldwide. Be sure to visit www.mountaintoppodcast.com for show notes. And while you're there, sign up for the free X&Y Communications newsletter for men. This is Ed Roy Odom speaking for the Mountaintop Podcast.